Our cover story tonight comes from Argentina. Its capital is Buenos Aires. The name literally translates to fair or good winds. Right now, it's anything but. The city is beset with storms of the geopolitical kind. Leaders of the world's top industrialized countries, the biggest economies, the Group of 20 or G20 have gathered there for their annual summit. It's a story of many parts, so let's start with the best, the pictures. What you'll see on your screens now, what you see there is a blimp, the new favorite prop of political protesters across the world. This one shows a baby version of US President Donald Trump. Evidently, he's not very popular there. But Trump is not the only leader facing the ire of protesters in Argentina today. Like every year, activists turned up with banners marching against the leaders of capitalism. These 20 countries account for 80% of the world's GDP. Thousands were out on the streets. They accused world leaders of trying to take advantage of the region. Remember, Argentina is struggling with economic recession and inflation at around 45%. The government has announced tough austerity measures. 20,000 policemen have been deployed.
What we are going through, it's not the time to bring all these presidents to our country. Firstly, they need to take care of the country's necessities and not what is happening externally. We really don't need this here. The G20 does nothing for us.
So much for the red carpet. Argentina has taken a whole host of measures to maintain calm during the summit. Friday, that is today, has been declared a bank holiday. All those who are not involved in the summit have been advised to take Friday off and leave the city for the weekend. Now let's tell you about the arrivals. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed on Thursday night. It's a packed day for him today with two important bilateral meetings also planned. One of them just happened. An informal BRICS meeting, that too has happened. The Prime Minister raised the issue of terror financing on the platform.
हमने सभी देशों से FATF मानकों के कार्यान्वयन का आग्रह किया है। आतंकवादियों के नेटवर्क, उनकी फाइनेंसिंग और उनकी आवाजाही को रोकने के लिए संयुक्त राष्ट्र के काउंटर टेररिज्म फ्रेमवर्क को मजबूत करने हेतु ब्रिक्स और G20 देशों को साथ मिलकर काम करना होगा। आर्थिक अपराधियों और भगोड़ों के विरुद्ध हमें मिलकर काम करने की आवश्यकता है।
US President Donald Trump arrived with the First Lady Melania Trump. He cancelled a meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin over the Ukraine standoff. He's also provoked China again. The US, we can tell you, sent warships to the Taiwan Strait just before the summit began. Their explanation, and I'm quoting, because we have the right to do so. Beat that. Next on our list is Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Britain. She arrived at the venue earlier this morning. For the British Prime Minister, the summit comes as she's struggling to get the Brexit deal through her parliament. She said that she won't back down. In fact, Chinese President Xi Jinping was also there. He is there. In fact, he's been accompanied by his wife, Peng Liyun. Trade issues, particularly with the US, will be high on the agenda for him. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammad bin Salman landed on Wednesday. He's trying to repair his international reputation after the murder of dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi. It's a diplomatic test for him, this summit. Argentinian president has, as the chair of the summit, has said that Saudi Arabia is a permanent member of the group, which is why they are attending. But he also hoped that the murder of Khashoggi comes up during the summit.
Al príncipe heredero que concurre a esta cumbre, Arabia Saudita es miembro permanente del G20, así que como tal él asiste y bueno, está este tema sobre la mesa que ha impactado al mundo y que tal vez salga en las reuniones bilaterales o no o en el temario del G20, pero es parte de esta comunidad que integra el G20 y como tal está en este país concurriendo para comenzar el día de mañana.
Well, the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince might hold talks with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on the sidelines of the summit. Ties between Riyadh and Ankara have been strained since Khashoggi's killing in Istanbul in the month of October. The Prime Ministers of Canada, France and Japan are also in attendance. One person who could not make it in time for the opening was German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Her plane was forced to land in Cologne due to a technical problem. With so many big guns at one venue, there's bound to be some power play. G20 will witness some significant meetings and also some awkward encounters. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has a packed schedule, as I said. He's already met the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammad bin Salman and the United Nations chief on the sidelines of the summit. He's scheduled to meet German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and he has just concluded a bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping.
यह वर्ष हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों के लिए बहुत ही अच्छा और महत्वपूर्ण रहा है। मुझे विश्वास है कि अगला वर्ष इससे भी ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा। वुहान में हमारा इनफॉर्मल समिट हमारे संबंधों में एक मील का पत्थर था। इससे हमारे एंगेजमेंट को नया मोमेंटम मिला और हमारे सहयोग के लिए कई नए आयाम भी खुले। अगले वर्ष इनफॉर्मल समिट के लिए हम आपका भारत में स्वागत के लिए बहुत ही उत्सुक हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, हमारी मुलाकातों द्वारा लीडर्स के स्तर पर हमारे द्विपक्षीय सहयोग का रिव्यू और इस संदर्भ में हमारे दिशा निर्देश मोमेंटम को बनाए रखने में सहायक है।
But it's the trilateral meetings which are hogging the headlines, and this will be a bit of a tightrope walk for India. Remember, the overarching issue in this summit is the US-China trade war. India finds itself wedged in between these two powerful sides. India wants to work with both of them. Prime Minister Modi's first trilateral will be with Japan and America. It's the first of its kind meeting. The second trilateral is with Russia and China, something they're calling RIC, Russia, India, China. And this is something that's happening after a gap of 12 years, so you can imagine the significance. The Trump-Modi-Abe US-India-Japan meeting will be taking place in the backdrop of China's increasingly assertive role in the Indo-Pacific region. This area is said to be rich in mineral, oil and natural resources. It's also strategically important. The United States has been conducting patrols in this region to assert freedom of navigation. China at the same time continues to build up and militarize many of the islands it controls here. Next comes the meeting with Russia and China, RIC, Russia, India, China. Remember, this will be Prime Minister Modi's fourth meeting in 8 months with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. While India sees a strategic partner in America, it does not want this partnership at the cost of peace with China. And this trade war is not India's to fight, which is why Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two trilateral meetings are a fine balancing act in ties with Beijing and Washington. We must note that little may change in this matrix for the foreseeable future. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has just begun his second term in office. He's going to stay. China's President Xi Jinping has an unlimited term. He will stay. Donald Trump is in the middle of his 4-year presidential term in America. He is expected to stay. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is bullish about his chances in the 2019 election. He may be Prime Minister again. These leaders are projected to occupy their respective offices for a while now. So the maneuvering in Argentina will pave the way forward for India's relations with both blocs. An important issue that has colored this year's G20 summit is the standoff on the Black Sea between Russia and Ukraine. It forced US President Donald Trump to cancel his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the summit. The Russian media is still saying that an impromptu meeting may be on the cards. Russian media blasted Donald Trump for his flip-flops too. Putin has shrugged it off and accused the Ukrainian president of orchestrating the crisis. President Petro Poroshenko of Ukraine says that he has strong evidence that Russian military tanks are gathering along his country's border. Poroshenko has shown a British news channel images of what he claims are tanks lining up along the border. He claims that these tanks are close to where Russia stores its ammunition. Ukraine, meanwhile, has banned all foreigners from entering the Russia-annexed Crimean region. Ukraine's border service announced that it will only allow Ukrainian citizens to travel to Crimea following the imposition of martial law until the 26th of December. A senior Ukrainian security official has said that Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, was considering whether to respond in kind with quote-unquote mirror actions to the Black Sea incident. This even as Ukrainian armed forces carried out tactical drills near the Azov Sea coast. Not just that, Ukraine has also banned Russian men of combat age from entering their country. Kiev announced it was barring entry to Russian men between 16 to 60 years of age.
заходи, які перешкоджають Російській Федерації формувати тут загони приватних армій, які насправді є представниками Збройних сил Російської Федерації, і не дати їм провести операції, які вони намагалися провести в 2014 році.
Yesterday, Russia deployed a new battalion of advanced S-400 surface-to-air missile systems in Crimea, its fourth such battalion. The deployed missiles were capable of securing airspace regardless of the target's altitude and speed. The missile system could hit the targets up to 30 kilometers high with speeds of up to 2,700 kilometers per hour. Russia has imposed a de facto blockade on 2 Ukrainian ports on the Sea of Azov by barring ships from leaving or entering via the Kerch Strait. Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. It's been 4 years. Ukraine says Russian President Vladimir Putin now wants to capture his entire country. Kiev has called for NATO to deploy warships in support. Meanwhile, the international community, including Germany and the US, have condemned this act of aggression by Russia.
Wir machen ja nicht die Sanktionen um der Sanktionen willen, sondern wir machen diese Sanktionen, um einfach deutlich zu machen, dass Länder, auch wenn sie in ihrer territorialen Lage in der Nähe Russlands liegen, das Recht auf eine eigene Entwicklung haben müssen. Das sind Grundsätze des internationalen Völkerrechts.